Good evening, everybody. My name is Joel Acosta, and today I will be talking about the Argentinian War. Before I dive into the war, I will go ahead and speak a little bit about the president that uh, left everything basically set up for this war to actually happen. His name was Juan Perón. He was president of Argentina from 1895 all the way to 1974. Um, he was a military officer, a politician, and later on became the president in of Argentina. He was actually exiled for I believe 2 decades before he came back to become president again. Uh, he was actually a significant figure in Argentina and played a central role in the shape of the country's history and politics. Perón was born on October 8th, 1895, in Lobos, Buenos Aires. He initially pursued a military career and rose through the ranks, eventually becoming a colonel. In 1943, he participated in a military coup that overthrew the Argentine government. This event marked the beginning of his political career. During his first presidency from 1946 all the way to 1955, Perón implemented a populist agenda known as Peronism or Justicialism, which I would explain later on. He aimed to improve the living conditions and working class and pursued policies such as workers' rights and social welfare programs, economic nationalism, so on and so forth. His government promoted labor and established a strong presence in the economy through nationalisms and protectionist programs. Excuse me. Perón's second presidency began from 1973, following nearly 2 decades of exile, like I said before, and political turmoil. However, his health rapidly declined and he passed away July 1st, 1974. His third wife, Isabel Perón, who was basically a successor of his presidential throne, for lack of a better term, and a bit about her was she actually became the first female president of Argentina, even if it was only for 2 years. Her after the 2 years of from 1974 to 1976, she was actually overthrown by a military coup led by General George Rafael Videla. And Videla, known as he was born from 1925 all the way to it was known actually to 2013, which is when he passed away in jail. He was actually the key figure of the military junta that seized power through a coup. Videla was born on August 2nd, like I said, 1925, in Mercedes, Argentina. His military career rose through the ranks and eventually became the commander-in-chief of the Argentine army in 1975. Following the coup in 1976, however, he became the de facto president, exercising significant power and authority during the military dictatorship. Under Videla's leadership, however, the military junta was implemented and repressed a regime known as National Reorganization Process, el Proceso de Reorganización Nacional. This regime characterized a widespread of human rights abuses, including forced silencing, torture, extrajudicial killings, extortion, so on and so forth. Thousands of individuals, including political activists, intellectuals, suspected descendants as well. You name it. All of these people came up to a total of an estimate, of course, of 30,000 people. That no one ever even heard about ever again. Videla and the junta justified their actions as necessary, to combat left-wing terrorism and restore order and stability in Argentina. I'm so sorry. However, their methods were widely condemned internationally, and human rights organizations documented the extensive violations committed during their ruling. So sorry. Some of their detention centers, however, were known as ESMA. The main ones, of course, was the first one was the biggest one was considered ESMA. It was named Navy School of Mechanics. This particular particular detention was located in Buenos Aires and was the largest and most notorious center of them all. It served as a main clandestine detention facility of torture. During this dictatorship, their main forms of torturing were basically electric shocks, which were victims subjected to shocks as they're tied down to a chair on certain parts of their bodies, including the genitals, ears, fingers, and any other body parts, such as, I believe, their toes and their feet as well, if I'm not mistaken. Another one was obviously beatings. These detainees were frequently beaten and physically assaulted with their fists. A main one were batons and other factors like actual bats and even firearms as well. These beatings caused severe injuries, broken bones, internal damages. I mean, you name it. These were not pleasant. Another one was actually sexual violence. These people were sexually tortured and abused, widespread. This was actually one of their main ones. Both men and women were subjected to, sexual assault and forced nudity. The perpetrators aimed to degrade and humiliate by exerting this type of power over them and basically showing them that they are in charge and that they are in control and the value of their life is 0 to none. A main one that that's known international as well is basically the waterboarding. This technique was involving suffocating the victim basically by putting a towel over their face and pouring either water so that they wouldn't be able to breathe. This induces a sensation of drowning, causing extreme panic and fear. The last one, but is not limited to many different other ones that I chose not to actually list down here, were stress positions. These particular stress positions is basically where detainees were forced to be tied up with their arms up or in very uncomfortable positions, causing them to stress. You already know how how they just causes extreme panic and fear as well. So one of the ways that they would actually silence them was drugging them and putting them on a plane and tossing them off. This technique, I actually saw it in a YouTube video and was actually pretty surprised on how it actually came out. However, it was not pleasant to actually hear anything about this. Another camp, it was a Campo de Mayo. There's about 6 camps in total. This military camp was near Buenos Aires, but was converted into a major detention center and torture center as well. It housed numerous prisoners and basically were subjected to torture and very inhumane conditions, considering the fact that the federal police was not involved. Excuse me. La Perla, located in Cordoba, however, was the largest detention center out of Buenos Aires. So the biggest one was ESMA in Buenos Aires, and this one would be the biggest one out of Buenos Aires. And it was operated by the army, the Argentine army, and it was responsible for the disappearance of many individuals. El Vesuvio is the fifth one, situated in the province of Buenos Aires. Mainly, Buenos Aires is where all of these detention centers were located. These were just subjected to torture and not disappearance. Um, and last but not least, we have Club Atletico. This sports in Buenos Aires was basically considered a detention center where prisoners were subjected to many forms of abuse and torture. These are just basically a few examples. Of course, there are many other detention centers, and it is important to note that these centers were part of a systematic campaign of repression, and the atrocities committed within these facilities resulted in many deaths and disappearances of thousands and thousands of people. I mean, considering this is, not even close to the Holocaust, but considering that this is the follow up of many people, many German people moving back after the World War II, if I'm not mistaken, into Argentina, and this dirty war following up is very atrocious. So um, let's go ahead and speak a little bit about the due processes. George Rafael Videla did, demonstrate many flagrant disregards for due processes and judicial norms. However, individuals were subjected to arbitrary detention without warrants or legal justifications. And I mean, I speak about even after the war, now in, I think it was 2010, where he was actually charged with with all these war crimes that he had committed. The regime did bypass the judicial system. However, they were effective acting as judges, juries, and even executioners. So that is something that, is like I said, this is far beyond how, any other government would react. This is a total takeover. The memorialization and human rights advocacy did play a vital role in remembering these victims, promoting a culture of human rights awareness, museums, memorials, public initiatives. They've established documents just to educate people mainly about this. I've seen many. I've seen many documentaries actually on this one. I saw one earlier where it was stated here, and it was stated in the book as well. It's called La Historia Oficial. So last but not least, I'm going to go ahead and speak about the conclusion. This dirty war once again was characterized as terrorism and the human rights abuse, leaving a long impact on generational damage towards the society of Argentina itself. And till this day, there are efforts being made to remember and memorize those victims that were silenced and, disappeared at the same time. There were a vast group of them that were never recovered. And to this day, they're still trying to recover those remains of them. My references will be below, and I hope you guys enjoyed my presentation.